Welcome to the ordinary meeting of Council, Tuesday the 25th of February 2025. We commence the meeting at 5:30. Kaya, Nala Karak Nunga Khan, Khan Karak Ninja Buja. We acknowledge the Noongar people as the traditional custodians of the lands in which we meet. Announcements by the President. I would just like to take the opportunity to thank the absolute army of people who have been here for the last 2 weeks fighting the fires in Windy Harbour, through the Chesapeake fires and through to Northcliffe. At one point we had 18 aircraft in the air and 350 bodies on the ground, not to mention the people that are in the background making sure people are fed, are in the right places and are keeping people safe. Special mention to the Northern Territory and New South Wales crew that came across and the Pilbara and Kimberley people that came down. I'm sure our fires were quite an eye-opener from the ones from the Northern Territory. Attendance, apologies, there are nil, and approved leave of absence. We have approved leave of absence for Councillors De Campo and Mylan for this meeting. Declarations of interest, Mr Lockwood.
Thank you, Madam President. I have one declaration of impartiality interest for Councillor Omadé, which is item 9.1.5 for the Pemberton Community Hub Review. And the nature of the interest is he's a member of the Visitors Centre, Historical Society, Pemberton Sports Club and the CRC.
Covers just about all of them, Councillor Omadé. Response to public questions taken on notice, there are nil. Public question time.
Madam President,
sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just as a matter of procedure under agenda item 3.2, the approved leave of absence for Councillors De Campo and Mylan.
We've lost you.
Yeah, at the beginning.
Say again?
No. You need to actually put the two approved leaves of absence into the minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to follow that because it only came up with the concept.
Thank you.
So at the back of the minutes, at the agenda, there's request for leave.
Sorry, Madam President, can you hear me?
Yes, can now.
Yes. You'll need to consider the requests for leave of absence under agenda item 3.2 for Councillor Mylan.
So we can approve them now, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Omadé.
Madam President, I move that Councillors De Campo and Mylan be granted leave of absence for this meeting.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Jarran. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr CEO. Right. Section 5, 5.2, public question time. Are there any questions from the floor? Thank you. If you could just state your name and address for the records, please.
Georgia Shire, 1192 Wheatley Coast Road, Quinninup.
Thank you.
Perfect. Good afternoon, councillors. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Georgia and this is my partner Adam. And we're here to discuss our holiday accommodation application in Quinninup, agenda item 9.5.1. I understand that comments have been made regarding the number of such accommodations in the area. While we respect the perspective of community members, I would like to take this moment to share our story and the deep connection we have with this region. Quinninup is more than just a place on a map for us, it's home. Over the last 3 years, my partner Adam and I have established a life here and we hold this region close to our hearts. There is something truly magical about this place. Sorry. And it is this magic that first captivated us both. When I first laid eyes on Kerry Lake, I was overwhelmed with emotion. Having travelled all over Australia, I knew right then that this place was meant for us. Within days, we shook hands on a property on Carey Lane, and then with pure luck on our side, we happened to be travelling through when a for sale sign was put on the cottage. It has always been a dream to build in the area, and when the opportunity arose to not only live here, but to share it with others, we jumped at the chance. The beauty of this Shire is something we value greatly, and I know many locals and visitors alike share this same sentiment. In the past 2 years, we have dedicated ourselves entirely to restoring and maintaining our cottage, with the goal of sharing the remarkable charm of this part of the world with visitors. Our cottage, one of the original Miller's cottages, was neglected for many years before we arrived. It needed significant attention to preserve its historical value, and we have worked tirelessly to restore and maintain it with great care. Every decision, every hour of labour, and every dollar spent has been motivated by our love for this area and a belief in its ability to welcome people who also share a deep respect for nature. We did not simply aim to open a business, we wanted to create an experience, one that reflects our appreciation for the land and a desire to foster meaningful connections with those who come here. Tourism plays a crucial role in the economic and cultural vitality of our community. The visitors who come to our region are not simply tourists. They are people who come to reconnect with nature, enjoy the peaceful surroundings, and immerse themselves in the rich history of the region. They support local businesses, share their positive experiences, and in doing so, help sustain the vibrancy of our community. We are aware of the concerns regarding the number of short-term accommodations in the area. However, we want to emphasise that our aim has never been to overwhelm the settlement. I want to stress that at its core, this application comes from a place of love and respect for Quinnanup. We aren't looking to change the soul of our town, but to preserve it by creating opportunities that keep our community alive, while also giving others the chance to appreciate and love it as we do. We want to create a space where visitors feel as much at home as we do, where they leave with a deep respect for our region, its people, and its natural beauty. We respectfully ask for your support in recognising the value that thoughtfully managed short-stay accommodations bring to the region, and that you support the officer recommendation to grant approval to this application. We are not just business owners, we are passionate, proud members of the Quinnanup community, and we hope that our efforts will contribute to the long-term vitality of this beautiful region. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Did you want notes?
Yes, I'll get them.
Okay. Can we have your notes for the minutes, please? Thank you. Are there any other questions? No? Excellent. Thank you. Presentations. We have petitions. We have nil. 6.2 presentations. There are nil. 6.3 deputations, nil. 6.4 delegate reports, nil. And 6.5 conference reports, nil. Would someone like to move the confirmation of the previous minutes, please? Councillor Omadé.
I move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Council held the 12th of December 2024 be confirmed as a true and accurate record.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilcox. Can we put that to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Okay. Section 8. Motions of which previous notice has been given. 8.1. RV Friendly Towns. Motion for consideration. Councillor De Campo. Councillor Darren.
Hoping I'm going to do this in the right order. So I'll move Councillor De Campo's notice of motion that Council, 1, direct the Chief Executive Officer to apply to the Campervan and Motorhome Club of Australia for Manjimup, Hamilton, Northcliffe and Walpole to become RV-friendly towns. 2, that Council investigate the use of the following sites for 24-hour stopovers. A, the Firemen's Training Ground between Rutherford Street and the basketball stadium. B, the area behind Imperial's Oval. C, the area on the left on the southern entrance of Bray Park. And 3, engage the Campervan and Motorhome Club of Australia on their self-managed stopover parks with the view of developing one in Manjimup and Walpole.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ventress? Councillor Darren? Sir?
I'd like to move a minor addition to that.
Yeah, can we go with an amendment
can in a second.
first?
Yeah.
So
2 seconds. You might want to add to this.
So from that, I'd like to now move an amended motion. Chapter 2. That council support the motion of Councillor De Campo to strive for RV-friendly town status for all towns within the Shire of Manjimup, and as such direct the Chief Executive Officer as follows. 1. That an audit be conducted of suitable RV-friendly locations within the towns of Manjimup, Pemberton, Northcliffe and Walpole, suitable for 24-hour stopovers, be assessed and prioritised against the Camper Van and Motorhome Club of Australia RV-friendly town essential and desirable requirements being: 2. Have the following locations included in the audit as identified in point 1 above. A. The Fireman's Training Ground between Rutherford Street and the basketball stadium. B. The area behind Imperial's Oval. C. The area on the left of the southern entrance of Ray Park. 3. That the audit report be presented to Council recommending priority locations for RV-friendly 24-hour stopover locations within each town. 4. Subject to the outcome of point 3 above, prepare an application to the Camper Van and Motorhome Club of Australia for Manjimup, Pemberton, Northcliffe and Walpole to become RV-friendly towns. And 5. Subject to point 3 above, engage with the Camper Van and Motorhome Club of Australia on their self-managed stopover parks with the view of developing one in Manjimup and Walpole.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Is there a second to the amended motion?
Still wouldn't make it
Okay. Councillor Ivy's second the amended motion. Councillor Winfield.
I would like to make a minor addition to that motion. Point 6, as part of point 3 above, seek feedback from other local governments where the arrangement RV-friendly town status is already in place and present this to Council as part of item 3.
Are you happy with that addition? Thank you, Councillor Darren. Thank you, Councillor Winfield. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the motion?
I do. So this motion, the amended motion, is essentially supporting what Councillor De Campo had intended, but gives a little bit more clarity and direction for staff to be able to enact this properly and bring back a report to Council. We had a presentation from the Camper Van and Motorhome Club of Australia, and this is an issue that continually comes up year on year, certainly all the years I've been on council. I think it's quite often debated, but this is a real opportunity to engage with a body that is working in this space in the way that is a little bit more modern and fresh than maybe we've considered it previously. So I think it's a really great opportunity for us to investigate where it stands now, how we could fit into that, bring a report back, and then let's make a decision with all of the facts. This is not committing us to doing anything, it's just committing us to looking into it a little bit further in a modern context. So I would encourage you to support the amended motion.
Thank you. Councillor Ivy, did you want to speak to the motion? The amended motion?
Yeah, I agree completely with Councillor Darren. I've worked in the tourism industry for over 37 years, and it has the caravanning industry has changed considerably over that time. There's always going to be a place for caravan parks, there's always going to be a place for campgrounds, things like that, but there is a certain component of the caravanning and RV industry now that do not need to have caravan parks every night. Most of them will still use a caravan park every 2-3 nights or so. And we're just not providing those places where people can just pull up for the night, enjoy the town centres and things like that. So yeah, I think this is a great idea to have a look and see what we can potentially come up with.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any speakers against the amended motion with the addition? Excellent. Shall we put it to the vote then, Councillor? There's no speakers against it. All those in favour of the amended motion with Councillor Winfield's addition? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Got through that one. Okay, item 9, officers' reports. We'll go through the officers' reports. Any that will be taken out will be put onto the board. They will go through en bloc. The rest will be taken out for debate. 9.1.1, proposed postal vote for local government elections 2025 is absolute and taken out. 9.1.2, exercise of delegated authority during the period 12th December 24 to 19th of January 25. 9.1.3, unconfirmed minutes of the 2024 annual meeting of electors held on the 21st of January 2025. 9.1.4, local government compliance audit return 1st of January 2024 to 31st of December 2024. 9.1.5, Pemberton Community Hub Ballet project review is taken out. 9.2, corporate and governance. 9.2.1, proposed participation in energy sustainability and renewable project is taken out. 9.2.2, proposed transfer of airfield lease. Thank you. 9.3, finance and administration. 9.3.1, Shire financial payments for November 2024. 9.3.2, Shire financial payments for December 2024. 9.3.3, monthly statement of financial activity, November 2024. 9.3.4, strategic rating review report. Thank you. 9.5, statutory planning. That wasn't going to come out. 9.5.1, retrospective change of use of a dwelling to holiday accommodation at lot 1192 Wheatley Coast Road, Quinnanup. 9.5.2, proposed change of use holiday accommodation at lot 44 in brackets 75 Carrie Lane, Quinnanup. 9.5.3, proposed change of use to holiday house at lot 47 in brackets 40 Chuditch Lane, Northcliffe. 9.5.4, proposed change of use to holiday accommodation holiday house at lot 153 in brackets 82 Walpole Street, Walpole. 9.5.5, proposed dam extension at lot 102 in brackets 30406 Southwestern Highway, Quinnanup is taken out, please. 9.5.6, delegated planning decisions November and December 2024 and January 2025. Community and recreational services, 9.9.1, proposed review of policy 3.1.3, community funds allocation. 9.9.2, request for approval to expend reserve funds, Manjimup Regional Aquatic Centre replacement of IT cabling and pool recirculation pumps and foot valves is absolute and taken out. 9.9.3, proposed project plan, consideration of divestment of Shire of Manjimup aged community care services and assets is taken out. Libraries and cultural services. 9.11.1, proposed budget amendment, successful funding request to host specialist art workshops for local students is absolute. Technical services, 9.12.1, proposed award of tender RFT 01/25 Graphite Road in brackets SLK 0.72 to SLK 1.12. Construction upgrade is absolute and taken out. Occasional and management committees. 9.15.1, unconfirmed minutes of the Airfield Management Committee held on the 11th of September 2024 and 11th of December 2024 is absolute. Advisory committees. 9.16.1, unconfirmed minutes of the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on the 27th of November 2024. 9.16.2, unconfirmed minutes of the Pemberton Town Activation Advisory Committee meeting held 19th of November 2024 is absolute. 9.16.3, unconfirmed minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held 7th of February 2025. Would someone like to adopt the recommendations, please? Councillor Ivey.
I move that Council adopt the recommendations contained in the Council officers and committee reports on pages 1 to 138 of the agenda, with the exception of those on the board.
Councillor Ventress, thank you. All those in favour? Carried 7-0, thank you. Okay.
Just a point of order, if that's possible. Maybe the President might like to explain for the good person that came, and congratulations for coming to the meeting tonight, but just as long as she understands that her business, maybe the President best explain.
Has been approved on block, but you will get notice before you do anything with that. So unless you would like to stay and be entertained by us, you may go, but you can stay and be entertained by us if you would like. Page 19, 9.1.1, proposed voting arrangements for local government elections 2025. Someone like to move it? Councillor Ivey.
I move as per the officer's recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Darren. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Darren, can we put that to the vote, please? Councillors, all those in favour? Carried 7-0, thank you. Page 29. 9.1.5, Pemberton Community Hub Ballymire Project Review. Would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Darren.
I'll move as per officer's recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Ivey. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the motion?
Am I allowed to preserve my right?
You certainly can. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to the motion?
I've been involved with this process from the very get-go a long time ago, and it's great that we now have a building that is in place, and I think it's just up to the groups that are in there to just start to work together and figure out how they can make it work better.
Thank you. Are there any speakers against the motion? Councillor Ventris.
Yeah, I stand and I speak against the motion, particularly on behalf of the community that I live in. 2 years ago, the Hub Committee of Council did an inspection of the site, and after this, the Committee of Council voted 7-2 to address what they saw as a problem in design. It's since been described as a dysfunctional overlap of the CRC and Visitor Centre. The motion from the Committee of Council was not supported by the staff recommendation. Keen to resolve the problem prior to moving in, the community requested that their two councillors move a motion to try and address the situation. This motion was successful and received an absolute decision of council. The then CEO immediately led a 3-week campaign to overturn this decision. He was successful by 1 vote, leaving the problem unresolved. Against their wishes, groups were instructed or encouraged to move in before the project is finished and told to give it a try, which they have. At the recommendation of staff, the Hub Committee of Council was dissolved prior to the completion of the project. I'd like to congratulate the current President who, in her time, came
Councillor
down...
Ventris, can we just make sure that you're addressing the points within the motion, please?
Okay. The current President came down and inspected the dysfunction and reported back to Council after inspecting it for herself. That's some of the history. In July, as nothing had happened, an attempt was made to again address the problem. Given there is a number of groups and all the staff are closely aligned to the library, Council instructed the CEO to do an independent review, and that was moved by Councillor Darren and seconded by Councillor De Campo. So let's have a quick look at some of the key findings in that review. This is the $20,000 review that we requested from Hammond Woodhouse Advisory, and I'll read some of the key points that are contained in that advice. The current design layout shared by the Visitor Centre and CRC is problematic and requires an immediate intervention. The location of the Centrelink office gives clients little or no privacy and should be relocated. This location would be much better suited as a reception or customer service space. It is our considered view stakeholder relationships are generally satisfactory and are unlikely to have a negative impact on operating functionality both now and in the future. It was apparent that the principal concern is the design and layout. In our opinion, that being Hammond and Woodhouse, the concerns expressed by stakeholders as to the dysfunctionality of these spaces are valid, reasonable, and requiring of an intervention. We consider it unlikely that the functionality of the facility will improve if the layout is left as is. Further, some more thoughts would need to be given to the interior design of the space so as to avoid repeating some of the current mistakes. As mentioned earlier in this report, We consider that the principal cause for the concerns is the current design and layout of the premise occupied by the visitor centre and the CRC. We concur with the view of H&H Architects that the main dysfunction is associated with the overlapping of the visitor centre and resource centre. The concept plans provide a solution to the problem. Recommendation: the concept designs by H&H Architects be endorsed by Council. And then a $10,000 investment for Alice, from a senior architect from H&H Architects, and some of the key points that she raises. The main dysfunction is associated with the overlapping of the visitor centre and the resource centre. The concept plans clearly separate this area and suggest a new, more visible and friendly public entry to the visitor centre. Further, Centrelink
Councillor,
wall...
I'm not sure where you're going with this, because
I'm highlighting the report.
But the recommendation is that we accept what that report is saying, which is what you're saying, and that it's acknowledged that the Shire, it's not a priority of the Shire at this time.
With the permission
so
of
I'm not sure what...
With the permission of the President, and for those that are at home watching now, I'd like to highlight some of the points. Given that the Shire has invested $30,000 in this, I think that I'm entitled to highlight some of the key points that are contained in that review, and I'd like to continue. Thank you. Some of the key points raised by the architect were: there is no clear differentiation between the two organisations at reception, existing office space, and it's cramped for the two staff. Workplace culture. The visitor centre and CRC customer service team coexist and work as a team quite well. They have learned to adapt to the conditions, although there are detrimental effects on customer service and experience. Visitor centre staff leave the counter and tourists expect resource centre staff to help. Under current layout, no clear differentiation between the two organisations at reception. Centrelink wall on the entry is undesirable. Noise and acoustic issues between CRC customers and public in visitor centre. Workplace culture, and again, I'd like you to particularly notice the comments made here by workplace culture. The visitor centre and CRC customer service team coexist and work as a team quite well. And visitor experience, confusing and uninviting public entry. Now, we've asked for an independent review, and that's the key points in there. The staff report, I don't believe, has picked up some of those key points. Even though it's again printed in the staff report, the main dysfunction is overlapping of the visitor centre and the resource centre, and it also points out in there that some of the building components were pared back during the project. The community are expressing some disappointment in these comments. In light of other capital priorities of the Shire, $455,000 in the current budget, and demand on these funds, which includes the works at 5D Brockman Street, given these factors and other budget priorities, is not considered to be a high priority to spend further Shire funds to undertake the works as identified in the report. Now, I would like to ask the question, who on staff has made the decision that this is not a priority? When was the nightclub in Manjimup a higher priority than finishing this hub? Who decided that? And I'd also like to put out organisational risks. I don't agree with the comments made in the report. The Shire faces a moderate reputational risk in the event that there is a sustained perception amongst stakeholders that a recently completed building project is not fit for purpose. This should more correctly read: the Shire faces a high reputational risk in the event that there is a sustained perception among stakeholders that a recently uncompleted building project is not fit for purpose. We have got the report clearly saying that this is dysfunctional. And I'd also like to make it known to those that are not aware and newer to this place that we took $1.5 million from Lotteries West, and it's stated by the CEO, the then CEO, that $500,000 of that was to provide a suitable place for the CRC. Now, that $500,000 investment to provide a suitable place for the CRC, described by an independent review as dysfunctional. Now, I think we should take the money. These groups have already committed money to this project, and that's not included in the report. These groups have committed money to this. Okay, I'll finish there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Right, reserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's using her right of reply as the mover
I'd like to speak for the motion.
for the motion. Right of reply. She reserved her right of reply
It's not closing the debate?
as the mover.
No, I'm not closing debate.
She's
I've
not
reserved
closing
my
the
right.
debate.
I'd like to.
Using her right of reply as the mover.
So I want to rebut a few of the things that have been said there. Firstly, staff didn't decide anything. We did. We set the budget. We sat in that room. We debated for an entire day what the priorities of this Shire would be for this year. We also debate a whole range of things on 10-year plans and the likes. We decided what the budget would be, and we decided what the priorities would be for this financial year, and we will decide what the priorities are for next financial year. And if at that point in time we decide that this is a priority, we will be the ones to decide to put it in the budget. So I don't think it's fair to say that staff made that decision and to insinuate that staff have somehow influenced this when it was us that made that decision. Now, in fairness, this has come after the budget, and that will be our opportunity then at the next budget to make that decision as to what our priorities are. And we decided what other properties would get that money. And we all decided that, and we all voted on it. And as far as I know, we all voted unanimously on that budget. This is a priority of the tenants. We are the owner of this building. We have provided a building which multiple tenants use and have a lease with us. This recommendation notes those issues. It acknowledges and receives that those issues are there in this report and recognises them. It is not taking that away, but these are priorities for those tenants, not necessarily for this Shire. We have a huge budget with multiple infrastructure across multiple towns that we need to deal with, and while it is a priority for those tenants, that is fine. This is saying that financially we do not have the resources this financial year to reallocate money, and that is what we would have to do, reallocate money. We would have to take it off something we have already budgeted for to give it to this project. We have already committed $100,000 to this piece of infrastructure if we are able to secure grant funding from Lottery West to complete that. That should be our priority. We are prioritising this property, and we are ensuring that what needs to be achieved will be done. And that should remain our priority. This, receive it, accept that yes, there is an issue here. And if these tenants believe it is such a priority for them, point 4 invites them to come to us with a funding model to achieve it now if they want. It is simply saying that we do not have the funds in this financial year to make this decision and reallocate money from another project to do it. If you want to see this happen, if you want it to make it a priority of the Shire of Manjimup that has multiple towns and multiple community spaces and multiple sporting places, then you advocate for that when it comes to budget time, and we make a decision as a council of 9 to determine what our priorities are going to be. This is not necessarily the forum to do it, or move a notice of motion with a suggestion of where that money could come from, and let us all debate what we are willing to take money off in this budget to reallocate to this one. But at this point in time, this motion is simply to receive the report, acknowledge that there are issues, acknowledge that it isn't a financial priority for this council in this financial year, but that we are completely open to those community groups coming to us with a funding model that would allow this to happen now. So I encourage everybody to support this, and if you can come up with an alternative to get this achieved that does not necessarily mean taking money off another project, or you can advocate for another project to have money reduced and convince the other councillors around here, do that. But until then, we move and we accept and we resolve this motion as it stands.
Thank you. Speaker against?
I'd like to speak against the motion, Madam President. First observation is, of course, that 5D Brockman Street has come after this project, the Ballymire project. And I'm at a loss to understand why in the officer recommendation there's a recommendation that says decide that the works recommended in the attached Pemberton Community Hub operating review report are not a priority and funded or to be delivered by the Shire at this time. I acknowledge the at this time. In the Hammond report, Hammond and HH report, it's mentioned on 3 different occasions that that facility is dysfunctional. Now, there's been a suggestion that there's disharmony in the group. It's quite the opposite. That group has worked in harmony, and I've been a member of each of those groups since its inception. The disharmony has occurred in relation to the advisory committee and the council's decision to cease the advisory committee. Now, I was interviewed by Mr. Hammond, who I know very well, and he mentioned to me that the Ballymire Advisory Committee should become a committee of council. However, that doesn't appear in the report, and I'm at a loss to understand why it isn't in the report. I understand that the report was provided to the CEO prior to it appearing in this agenda, and maybe the CEO might be able to explain whether that was a recommendation of the Hammond report. But I think it's important that we finish that project properly. The truth of the matter is that we've got an independent report which staff also decided during that report process to also investigate the Pemberton Sports Club, which that would have been the 3rd review, the 1994 report, and then the subsequent report that was provided with the resolution of the funding of the Pemberton Sports Club. So council didn't make that decision to investigate the sports club again. I don't know how much that cost, but probably is part of the $20,000. Councillors, you need to understand that $31,500 would have more than fixed the issues that are there at the Ballymire facility. And it was stated very early on in the piece by all and sundry that there needed to be a change to the structure. So we get a report that tells us what we already know, what the community already knows. However, we've had to go and do this independent report. Well, I've got to say to you that as far as I'm concerned, a grade 7 student could have written this report. It is so patently obvious the dysfunction that occurs in that facility, and all it does is cause stress amongst the community that exists there. So I will be voting against this. I'd urge councillors to vote against the motion and then go and start again.
Thank you. Can I ask a couple of questions before we go on, please? The decision for an independent consultant, was that a decision of council to go with an independent consultant?
Yes, council made the decision. It was recommended at the Pemberton meeting last year or the year before to undertake an independent review, and council supported that motion.
And do we have any costings at all for the recommended building, the building recommendations that have come out of this report?
Look, it'd be on the back of an envelope costings, but probably to achieve everything that's recommended, including the complete reworking of the CRC space, probably ran at least 100 grand, but parts of it could be done for less.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Amadei. Thank you. Question?
Yeah, I have a question in relation to the comments made by Councillor Jarran, and my question is to the Director of Finance. What is the current budget for 5D Brockman Street? What is the current budget for 5D Brockman Street? What did we decide?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask the question, given that the statement's been made that in the current budget, the current financial year, we've made a decision as council to apply a budget to 5D Brockman Street. My question to the Director is, what is the current budget for 5D Brockman Street? I don't think it's an unreasonable question.
I'm not sure the relevance to this point.
Well, the relevance is...
Because the decision, I think...
fact-checking.
Sorry, Councillor Ventris. The decision of the funding for Brockman Street was made as part of a budget discussion. And I think that was the point that Councillor Darren was making. It wasn't the amount that was made, it was the way the decision was made, not the amounts of the decision.
Further question. In the terms of reference given to Hammond Woodhouse, includes a section there that says to research Lotteries Commission documentation. That doesn't appear in the report from Hammond Woodhouse. Could someone please explain to me why that wasn't covered by the advisors, please?
Madam President, can you hear me on
Yes, we can.
on the speaker?
Yep.
Yeah, I might pass over to Mr. St John, who I believe is in the chamber at the moment to assist.
He is. Thank you. Mr. St John, did you have a comment on that?
Phil, come around and...
Onto one of the councillors' microphones might be easier.
Councillor, probably circulate a copy, but we worked from the council resolution of 23rd of May 24. The council directed CEO to engage a consultant to undertake an independent review of the Pemberton Community Hub, including recommendations in relation to governance arrangements for the operational hub, financial arrangements, building and tenants arrangements, asset management and maintenance arrangements, parity and equity in relation to other co-located facilities owned and operated by the Shire of Manjimup. And the second part, that council directed CEO to coordinate and lodge a grant application with Lottery West for completion of the building elements, which includes the allocation of up to $100,000 Shire funds subject to 2024-2025 Shire budget allocation. So reference to Lotteries Commission, Lotteries West, is around a grant application. So what we've worked from is items 1 to 5 in terms of the independent report. That was the instruction given to the consultant. We did make some minor amendments to accommodate the architectural work, because we considered that would be useful and important, and we're also trying to stick within a kind of agreed budget for the project. So we did spend more on the architectural work because we thought that'd be useful to do that. That wasn't covered in the original resolution of May, but we felt that would be useful.
Thank you. Okay, excellent.
Madam President, I have a further question to Mr. St John.
Question?
Given that the report says on 3 occasions that there is dysfunction at the Ballang Mire between the operators of that facility, how did you arrive at a decision to recommend that it's not a priority to be funded or delivered by the Shire at this time, given that it's cost the Shire over $30,000 for the report?
So that decision was made in consultation with CEO, but in essence, the feeling behind that is that there are other projects. There is, so it talks about the budget available, $455,000 at the moment. The council has resolved to undertake the works to, there's some reference to the Brockman Street, so it's not officers deciding that's a higher priority. This council has resolved to undertake those works. It did resolve subjects to budget, so again, but it's clear there is a step forward in that work, and I'm not placing any judgment on those works. That's your role to place that. So, but we just felt with the other things going on, and yeah, the works are identified as, it's clear what the report says, and again, we'd use the term at this time. We feel that at this stage, there are other works that you might consider high priority, but that's exactly why we have a council, of course, for you to determine that. You're entitled to disagree with that, but the officer view is there, given what you've got, there are higher priority works with greater risks. I wouldn't go into the risks with Brockman Street, that's another conversation, but there are some significant risks with those works. So I guess this is the difficulty of budgeting and competing priorities.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you, Mr. St John. Councillor Darren, did you want to close the debate? Okay. Can we put that to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour of the officer's recommendation? And against? Carried 4-3. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. St John. 34. Oh, we didn't get very far there, did we? 9.2.1, proposed participation in the Energy Sustainability and Renewables Project. Is there a mover? Councillor Ivey.
I move that council accept the offer from the Walga Sustainable Energy Project and a new renewable energy supply arrangement be entered into effective 1st of April 2025 for a 3-year term.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Winfield. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to the motion? Thank you. Councillor Winfield? Are there any speakers against? Councillor Ventris.
I'm the odd one out tonight speaking against, but this is the role of a councillor. I'd just like to point out a few things. I went to the visited the Synergy site, and I'd just like to make a few quotes. Obviously, you don't want to hear my voice, so I'll try and on the previous occasion and this occasion, I'm trying to glean as much information from sources outside of myself. So I'll quote from the Synergy site. Help us make a difference. Green energy purchased by Synergy is fed into the grid, so we appreciate that. Choose how much you want to contribute. Going green can cost a little as you want to contribute. Quote, the amount extra you pay is an addition to your daily electricity charges. And a further quote from the business section. Join Australian businesses doing their bit for the environment by contributing extra. Renewable products include a contribution paid by you above the standard regulatory retail tariff. And we read in the officer's report, it is expected there will be an increase to costs. And then, so if we accept what Synergy and the report is saying, we're signing up ratepayers, we're doing it tough in a cost of living crisis to buy 100% non-base load renewables and pay a contribution. Instead, I believe we should be spending the dollars on rooftop solar and batteries on all our buildings. Real action, real savings. This program requires us to pretend that 100% of the electricity we use is renewable, and it's not. The wind stops, the clouds roll in, and the lights tonight will be driven by baseload coal power. I'd just like to further go on and explain further. Sorry, excuse me. Real action and real savings by putting in solar panels and batteries on our building. I'd just like to point out to you, the buildings are recently constructed in Pemberton, and we just discussed about the hub and the daycare centre. We needed to pare back costs. And what were some of the first things that were pared back? The solar panels on the roof. I think it was a mistake. I think we should have made an investment. A building that's open from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening, 7 days a week, and we pare back, what do? We remove the solar panels. Even though Lotteries West gave us $7,000 towards the solar panels on little taddies, we pare that back for cost savings. And so I think we need to get serious about climate action. I think this is a Ponzi scheme. I think that we're led to believe that the power that we're using here is 100% renewable. We're investing in 3 wind farms, one in Badgingarra, one in Merredin and one in Albany. That power that's generated from those wind farms doesn't even enter this Shire, and we're expected to invest in it. I'd just like to quote, if you're prepared to listen to Brad Pettit, the state's Green leader. He said it, and I quote, "There is no debate that gas is critical. The cheap shot is to say that the Greens want to turn gas off." He said, based on sustainable energy now work, that a maximum of 87% would allow for cheap prices. And the Labor Minister, Minister Whitby, said gas will be around for a long time and has given export licence to 2070 for Woodside. So I'm happy to be the odd one out here. And I think that and some of these sorts of things that come to us before council, and this became before council under the previous CEO who advocated hard for it. I've done a bit of research into those three wind farms that we'll be investing in. Did you know that Emu Downs at Badgingarra is owned by Griffin? Has anybody heard of Griffin Coal? And Stanwell. Has anyone heard of Stanwell? A Queensland government corporation that's the second biggest carbon emitter in Australia. The other people that we'll be making a contribution to is the Colgar Merredin site, which is owned by a super fund, makes a profit for their members and employs 15 people that don't live in our Shire, they live in Merredin. And the power goes to Kalgoorlie. And Albany, similar sort of story. Seabus Super. Anyone heard of Seabus Super? Major shareholders in the Bright Energy complex at Albany, with the profits going to members. I'm certain all these groups are happy to receive a contribution from our ratepayers, an initial increase in costs. As far as I'm concerned, it's a Ponzi scheme. As councillors, we're called to scratch some of these things and dig deeper. I just asked myself, would we allow towers alongside our communities going whoop, whoop, whoop? Yet we're happy to invest in towers that are 500 kilometres away. I think we could make better investments, and it's time that we were serious about climate change and these Ponzi schemes that we give support to just because they've got a green sticker on them. I think it's an indictment on this Shire that we aren't including more batteries and more solar panels on our buildings. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question before we go on? The Lotteries West funding for the solar panels from Little Taddies, was that allocated towards solar panels within that Lotteries West funding?
Lottery West refused to fund solar panels on an existing building.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Ventris.
I think I've got a right to clarify that. I'm prepared to.
That's okay. Can I ask my second question,
okay,
please?
I'm prepared to provide documentation.
Thank you.
To my statement.
Thank you. Can I just ask, what was the primary object of the establishment of the original project? So the original renewables project. What was the primary objective of that?
So I've got the contract in front of me. Thank you, Madam President. So the key objectives of the project.
No, he doesn't. It's not in the standing orders. He doesn't have to stand.
So the key objectives.
Because councillors have to stand. Thank you, Councillor Omade.
The key objectives of this project are to enhance access to renewable energy for Walga members, thereby driving positive climate change outcomes, minimise energy costs to Walga members, and evolve supply options and use new energy technologies.
And were those objectives achieved? And has there been a benefit to the Shire through this scheme?
So per the agenda item, Madam President, it talks about how the energy prices have increased by 105% when we fixed the price in the first contract since going into this second contract. So over that whole period, we've had fixed prices, so we haven't been subject to change. And because of the collective, we get a much better price on energy, and it is cheaper than going out to the open market.
Thank you. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Are there any speakers for, or would you like to take up your right of reply? Councillor Ivey, Councillor Winfield? For Councillor Darren?
I'm not even trying to rebut some of that stuff because I don't really plan on getting into an argument about the politics of renewable energy, and in all honesty there was a lot there. We asked this question in the concept forum and I thought it was a pretty straightforward answer. The price per kilowatt, hopefully I've got the right measure, was between 14 and 18 cents. I own a commercial property in town. My business pays 28 cents a kilowatt. That's a 10-cent saving. I think it's as straightforward as that. I understand where you're coming from, and that certainly some of the rhetoric, or well, not the rhetoric, but some of the things that are on the Synergy website, yeah, sure, if you've got a personal home and you are you would pay extra for the green energy, and I understand that is the way. But we can't compare what's going out to the commercial residential property to what is being negotiated at a collective level by local government. They're totally different. And the work that's been done on this has been to achieve a better price, a price that we have been able to quantify. It's a 10 cents difference, 10 cents in our favour. It's, in terms of the prices increasing, I think that was a misleading comment to make. The price is increasing because the 3-year contract is ending. We had fixed prices for 3 years. We entered an agreement. The prices were fixed. That agreement has come to an end. We're renegotiating, and shock horror, in one of the most difficult times economically in the last 2 decades, we have seen inflation go through the roof and prices are going up. That's why it's going up. It wouldn't matter whether you were going renewable energy or coal-fired energy. If you had fixed your prices 3 years ago and you were renegotiating that today, no matter what type of energy you use, the prices have gone up. So I don't think that we can use the officer's report to insinuate that the price is going up, because that is not what is written here, that the price is going up because we are using green energy. That's not what's written, it's not what's implied, it's not what's said explicitly. And the simple fact is, and I agreed with the question that was asked at the concept forum. I completely understood where you were coming from, and I wanted to hear the answer too, but I thought the answer was pretty straightforward. 14 to 18 cents per kilowatt versus what you'd be paying at a commercial level is about 28 cents. It's a saving. I think it's pretty straightforward. That doesn't even take into account the environmental benefits, which I don't even think we need to have a conversation about.
Thank you. Is there any other speakers against the motion? Councillor Ivey, would you like to close the debate? Okay, let's put it to the vote then, please, councillors. All those in favour of the officer's recommendation and against, carried 6-1. Page 39, 9.2.2, proposed transfer of the airfield lease. I would just like to draw to your attention that it does have draft written across this item, but it is not a draft, it's just a typo. Would someone like to move that item? Councillor Amade, is there a seconder? Oh, sorry.
I'd like to move that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to consent to the transfer of the lease of portion of the airfield reserve 33588 from the estate of the late Gary Robinson to the beneficiary of the will.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Winfield. Councillor Amade, did you want to speak to the item?
The only thing I was going to add was I thought the person's name for legal purposes should be added, but I'm happy with the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Winfield? Are there any speakers against? Can we put it to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. 93, page 93. 9.5.5, proposed dam extension at lot 102 in brackets 30406 Southwestern Highway, Quinninup. Councillor Amade.
Madam President, I'd like to move as per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ivey. Councillor Amade, did you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, I made the same observation at the councillor briefing. However, as councillors would be aware, the briefings are not open to the public, and therefore the information and the rationale for reaching a decision is not always available to the general public. But there is a dam that exists on this property already. We have a letter from the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation that says quite plainly that this dam does not need DWER approval because it's a catchment dam. It's, I think, 13 megalitres, if I recall, which is not a very big dam at all. The only question mark was the report by the Main Roads Department, which says that if they were to expand the road and extend the road, that it shouldn't be approved. However, it doesn't say that the dam already exists. So the dam already exists, and it will be extended to 130 odd metres, but still a very small dam. So if the Main Roads Department have got a problem with the dam, it's up to them to really make the decision. So we haven't always agreed with the Main Roads Department's recommendation, and I think in this case we should stick with the officer's report, which I think is pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to the motion? Are there any speakers against the motion? Shall we put it to the vote then, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Okay, page 111, 9.9.2, request for approval to expend reserve funds, Manjimup Regional Aqua Centre, replacement of IT cabling and pool recirculation pumps, foot valves. there a mover? Councillor Darren,
I'll move as per officer's recommendation.
and a seconder. Councillor Ivey. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Ivey? Shall we put it to the vote then, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. 115. 9.9.3, proposed project plan, consideration of divestment, Shire of Manjimup Aged and Community Care Services and Assets. Is there a mover? No one's going to move this item.
I'll move as per officer's
Thank
recommendation.
you, Councillor Darren. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ivey. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the item? Thank you. Councillor Ivey. Are there any speakers against? Councillor Ventress.
I'd like to make comment rather than particularly speak against. I'm fully supportive of the principle of the divestment of the facility. I guess I raised my concerns that this was a discussion that we had some time ago, possibly October 23, where we talked not only about this asset but other assets, caravan parks, 5D Brockman Street, lazy land, old and new houses and whatever, about the need to capitalise some of these facilities, that they were a drain on budget and et cetera, et cetera. I guess my concern is that, you know, not a lot happened for a while, even though we discussed it. So in July 2024, there was a motion again by Councillor Darren and seconded by Councillor De Campo that we needed to get the information, if you like, to put it in simple terms, to be able to look at selling off this facility. And so we asked Council to provide that information. It was due in December 2024. We never received that. We had one briefing where we discussed whether it included Dunreef cottages or not. And I guess my concern is really when you look at the report that was given to us, it says the report will come back to Council in February 2026. Now, that's fine, but that's a long period of time. You know, we're looking at 2.5 years, and I think my question really is to myself and to our fellow councillors, are we serious? I guess that's the question, or are we just kicking stones down the road? And I think, you know, capital, these type of things are going to take some brave decisions. I understand that it's a sensitive decision. We build these things up from start. We become attached to them, a bit like children, you know, sons and daughters. But eventually we need to put them out into the big wide world and let someone else take them and expand them. So I think in this sort of situation, I understand the sensitivities, but I think just pretending and kicking it down, we need some action. And I think realistically, if I was on the board of West Farmers and asked for a report to be in by December because we needed to dispose of coals or something, it'd be done and it'd be disposed of by now. And I think we lack that sort of go and get it done sort of situation. And I think with the absence of Councillor De Campo from the table, someone that's well versed in getting things done, we're a little deficient tonight, and we need that we can do it sort of attitude. Sometimes you just need to step on a few people and step on a few toes for the greater good and the greater outcome. So I would have preferred that the report came back to Council possibly in August and give this current Council an opportunity to do it. Now, if it's not absolutely fully completed and there's a request for time, there'd be that opportunity to do that. But I think we're planning to fail here. We've pushed it out too far. We've dragged our feet too long and nothing will ever come of it. We spoke about selling the caravan park off or developing it, one or the other, in the whole 7 years that I've been here, and nothing's happened and nothing looks like it's happening. And I think these issues just waste time unless we're serious. That's my question to Council.
Mr. CEO, can you hear me? Did you want to have a comment on the timing of this report?
Thank you, Madam President. Just checking that you can hear me.
Yep, can.
Yeah. My comments generally with regards to this is it's a very, very complex, legislatively heavy events, a third or more of our business in terms of work
No, we've lost you.
and expenditure. Sorry, just checking you can still hear me.
You're cutting in and out. Right.
It's complex. It's a very large part of the business. I would counsel very, very strongly against rushing this forward. We need to do it once and do it right rather than
We missed the last bit, but we got the gist. Thank you. Are there any other? Is there another speaker for the motion? Did you want to take your?
Madam Chair, I think my only opportunity is to speak against, but I want to make a few salient points. So I'll be voting against.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is a very important issue, and the issue of aged care and aged accommodation is very important nowadays, and our CEO has good experience in relation to divestment of aged facilities when he was CEO at the Shire of Donnybrook. My only concern here is that I can recall very clearly when council decided to lease to Baptist Care. We had no alternative really, because you need somebody who's conversant or capable of engaging with aged care. But this current council probably isn't aware of the amount of work that the local community has put into Moonya Lodge and of course Dunreath as well over a long period of time. And I'm concerned that we need to engage with our community to get a clear message from them as to whether we should proceed with this. I think one of our difficulties, and just for the record, in the previous under the previous CEO and under Baptist Care's previous CEO, what happened there was we had a meeting in Bunbury of our CEO, myself, Baptist Care, and also WACS, WA Community Health Service, and the Department of Planning, and there was a plan to go forward for everybody to consult, and Baptist Care were going to build a $65 million facility at the old hospital site. And of course we were able to facilitate that by giving them a lease. However, what happened was the CEO then deserted Baptist Care to one of their opponents, and the government changed, and the whole thing fell in a hole. My view is that we should proceed carefully on this matter and bring the community with us. I think that's really important, the decision that we're making. The difficulty we have in Manjimup is we haven't got enough scale to create competition between the care providers. And that's something we need to work on too, because I don't think we should just hand over our facilities to Baptist Care. And I note with interest that it's Baptist Care, New South Wales and ACT. I presume it's still Western Australia involved with Baptist Care as well. So just on that, can we have some clarification about why it's in the recommendation it's New South Wales and ACT?
Mr. CEO, did you hear that?
I did, thank you, Madam President. Baptist Care are heading to a federated organisation. So rather than having individual state organisations, there'll be one national organisation. So they're going through some transition.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you. Thanks for the response. But I think the point that I'm making is that I'm not prepared to proceed with haste on this matter.
Thank you.
Can I speak for?
Yep, you've reserved your right to speak.
Oh, okay, great. I reserved my right to speak. Just wasn't thinking I was going to have to speak for this one, but sounds like there might be a couple of votes the other way, so I will speak for it. I actually agree with Councillor Ventress and with Councillor Omaday, which I think is, I do. I don't think we should move with haste, and I don't think we should kick this can down the road. I do think this is important. I do think that there is a whole range of issues here. There was a previous Baptist Care CEO, there was a previous Shire of Manjimup CEO, we've obviously had a changeover in Shire President too, so there has been things that have changed since the Baptist Care issue came up. So I agree with you, which is kind of the point of the project plan. So I would encourage you to support the motion, because in actual fact, the motion is exactly what everybody here has argued so far. It is a project plan to find out this information, to consult with our community to find out what they want, to consult with the providers to see how it fits in with the service provision. One of the key parts of one of the key objectives in this is continuity of care. The Shire's intent is to ensure no disruption to the high quality services currently provided by Manjimup Home Community Care. The entire intent of this is to spend our time working through what all of the challenges are, what the barriers are, where the legislation sits, what we can achieve, how do we continue forward ensuring that aged care is still provided to community members here in a high quality way. How do we ensure that we do that, bringing the community along with us? And that's what this project plan is about. So I think we can achieve exactly what has been spoken about here, and the mechanism we do that through is this motion for this project plan, which I think is quite detailed and put together, and I think does hold us to account to make a decision. We are not going to be able to complete this project plan, get the report out of this and kick it down the road. We are going to have to make a firm decision because the scope that's within this project plan is pretty detailed and pretty clear. So I would encourage you to support the motion so that we can actually clear up over the next 12 months these exact issues.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey, did you want to use your reserve? Okay. Shall we put it to the vote then, councillors? All those in favour of the officer's recommendation? And against? Carried 6-1. Thank you. 119. 9.11.1, proposed budget amendment, successful funding request to host a specialist art workshop for local students. Is there a mover? Councillor Ivey.
I move as per the officer's recommendation.
And is there a seconder? Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to the item?
Just a congratulations to the Manager of Library Services for obtaining this grant. There's heaps of opportunities for students to do sporting pursuits and everything in this region. It's great to see a bit more art and culture. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Wilcox. Are there any speakers against the motion? Can we put it to the vote then, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Page 122. 9.12.1, proposed award of tender RFT 01/25 Graphite Road in brackets SLK 0.72 to SLK 1.12 construction upgrade. Would someone like to move it? Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Is there a seconder? Oh, sorry.
As per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Winfield. Thank you. Righty. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Ivey? Councillor Winfield, would you like to speak to the motion? Are there any speakers against? Councillor Omadou.
Madam President, I'd like to know how many councillors have had a look at this piece of road.
How many what, sorry?
How many councillors have had a look at this piece of road?
How many councillors have had a look at the piece of road on Graphite Road?
Have inspected that piece of road? The 400 metres from Collier heading west. The reason I'm questioning this is because, as I mentioned in the briefing report, the price of this this quote, and I know it's in a bidder's market nowadays, means that we'll be spending over $2 million for the next kilometre of this road. So we're getting 400 metres of road pavement on a piece of road that I don't think, and I must admit I'm not an expert, I'm not an engineer, but I have driven on a lot of roads, and if you're talking about the piece of road a little bit further on, opposite the cattle yards at the high school, then I would wholeheartedly agree regardless of the cost. But it just this seems to me to be an exorbitant amount of money. We're talking about $895,394 for 400 metres of road. A road that's already sealed, that already seems very stable to me, and I think we should reconsider where we're spending this money. Obviously, the money is within the budget. Graphite Road is one of the regional road group monies that are partly funded by Main Roads Department. However, I'm not prepared to support this recommendation for this piece of road.
Thank you. Can I ask a couple of questions, Director of Works, please? Why this bit of road?
Madam Shire President, couple of reasons this section of road. So it's consecutive to the last section that we did, which is consecutive to the last section that we did, which is consecutive to when we commenced sometime around 2016, 2017, when we did the intersection with the highway. Constructing a road, you build it consecutively so that as you change levels, geometry, elevation, you can be consistent with what your last section of road that you've built, so that you end up with a smooth piece of road. If you start doing non-consecutive sections of road, how do you tie in your levels and any kind of camber changes, etc., to what you've done or where you've started? That's one reason. The other reason, if I may continue, is the road surface has some indicators, some symptoms that there is some subgrade failure with that, and it's to do with the way the seal cracks and the way the seal deforms. We were concerned about that, so we did some, I think there was about 20 test holes over about 300 metres, and what came back was very disturbing and indicated, and this was not done by our own team, this was done by consultants who specialise in this. What came back was the subgrade was failing, was in the process of failing. And the reasons for that was because of the poor material where it was there, and also the variation in the material between the subgrade and the next layer of material, which is the sub-base. There's inconsistent depths and amounts of material, along with inconsistent qualities of the material, which leads to its stability.
Okay, one other one. How long has this been on the capital works plan, and how much have we spent on this section today, or on this part of the project today?
Madam Chair, the Graphite Road's been on the forward capital works plan since 2015, 2016, I believe.
Yep.
With the intent to consecutively complete the project using Regional Road Group funding. The investigations and the designs that we've done with this section of road have cost us about $90,000 so far.
And one last one. What would be the repercussions of us not approving this tonight?
Depending on what council want to do with those funds, well, in a way, regardless of what council wanted to do with those funds, unless it wanted to put them on an existing project, which we probably don't have a design for, it would mean a carry forward. Sorry?
Graphite Road?
We don't have a design for was the second part of that.
I'm not sure what that... We've got funds for Graphite Road now. If we put it on some other section of Graphite Road, we'd need a design for that, and that would take... First off, we'd need potentially Regional Road Group approval to amend the SLKs, the project, and then we'd need a design. That's going to take at least 3 or 4 months, which takes us outside of the construction season and would mean a carry forward.
And carry forward again. Thank you. Question?
I don't really know a lot about roads. So my question is, with the subsoil, please excuse me if I use the wrong term, but with the substructure, how quickly could the consequences, so if we don't do it, how quickly can those repercussions come about if there was going to be damage that occurs to the road? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Why don't we leave it and we can find out?
Thank you, Councillor Amadei.
Madam Chair, it's failing now. There's what we call crocodile cracking, so there's round sections of pavement that are deforming and cracking, which means it's going to start breaking up, soon. Whether that's this year, next year, a couple of years, depending on the traffic. Keeping in mind this is a RAV4 network road, so it's got 42.5 tonne vehicles on it.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion, Councillor Ventris.
I'm happy to speak for something tonight. Build, baby, build, I suppose, at the end of the day. One that's always for road improvement. But I do share the concern at the cost, and we must all be concerned about the cost. Let's be realistic here. That's a lot of money for a small section of road. I guess at the end of the day, I'm not inventing the price. That's the tender that's come in. But it is a concern when we've got thousands of kilometres of road and people want better roads. I guess there's a message in there, you know, for anyone that's listening, you know. It's not an easy equation. Roads are very expensive. And I guess nothing highlights it more than possibly this. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to speak against the road. I think we've only have to look at our strategic plan, our business plan. Everyone wants better roads. But all at the same time, yeah, we all share the concern at the sheer cost. And one wonders at that sort of price and 400 metres, how old someone might be before we get to the end of that road. Thank you.
Time we get to Carlotta.
Madam President, it's $2 million per kilometre. It's miles too high. And we could do another section of graphite. And we could carry the funds over like we did with Old Vass.
I think during as we all heard as part of the concept forum, the information that we were given from Main Roads and the costings that they told us, we're looking at least a 50% in all of our road costing, and that came from Main Roads. So, is there another speaker? Any other speakers against the motion? Question?
Would the director of, you said the director of works, director of works, be able to maybe clarify? Is it? I know that if you times it by the number, it comes out at 2 million, but there's obviously mobilisation costs and things like that. So could you give us an idea of, is it $2 million a kilometre?
It depends what's happening with that kilometre. Sorry, these are typical answers with roads, and it always depends. If I take us back a couple of years when we did the section between Collier and Ward, that cost $1 million. It cost $1 million, and that was 2-3 years ago. Yes, that included curbing and some drainage. This section doesn't. The difference with this section is that there's 0.5 metre all up of material, subgrade, subbase and base course and seal, that basically needs replacing. If we were to pick all of that up, potentially just throw it away, use it for for covering at the tip, and then bring in that 0.5 metre, it would be a very expensive and time-consuming project. The method that this part of the project is employing for this section only is to save time, should be done within 2 to 4 weeks. Don't quote me on that because things change. And also will provide a very stable, potentially 20-year lifetime of the road.
Thank you.
Each section of road costs different. We've done sections of road that were, in the last construction season, we were averaging $600,000 to $700,000 a kilometre. That's because some sections of road cost us a lot just to do 600 metres, and others, for the $450,000 we were spending, we got over a kilometre. We got 1.2, 1.3 kilometres, and it depends on the nature of the road, the conditions, and what's actually happening.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey, did you want to close the debate?
Yeah, the officer's report on page 123 clearly explains the extra cost is due to the complexities involved. And I can pretty much guarantee that the price would not go down if we held it off for a couple of years, so let's just do it.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Can we put that to the vote then, please, councillors? All those in favour? And against? Thank you, carried 6-1. Okay. 9.15.1, unconfirmed minutes of the Airfield Management Committee held on the 11th of September 2024 and the 11th of December 2024. Councillor Winfield.
As per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ivey. Councillor Winfield, did you want to speak to the report? Councillor Ivey. Any other speakers? Can we put it to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Okay, 133. Nearly there. 9.16.2, unconfirmed minutes of the Pemberton Town Activation Advisory Committee meeting held on the 19th of November 2024. Councillor Ventris.
I'd like to move officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And Councillor Omadé. Councillor Ventris, did you want to speak to Councillor Omadé? Any speakers against? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Murray and Paul. Excellent. Okay. All right. So, late reports. I'm just checking that we don't have any. No? Excellent. It's been a big day. Question from members. Response to questions from members taken on notice. There are nil. Questions from members? Councillor Ventris?
Yeah, I have a question for the Director of Finance. I'm going to be asked this question in the community. The 24-25 budget, what is the budget allocation for 5D Brockman Street in the 24-25 budget? Thank you. Maybe just take it on notice.
Thank you. Happy to do it. Take it on notice or do it now? Now? Fab. Thank you. Thank you, Director of Business.
Thank you, Madam President. So in the 24-25 adopted budget, it was $260,873.
Thank you. Okay. Motions for consideration at the following meeting. Oh, Councillor Omade.
Madam President, this is a question to you. Given our trial for the briefing sessions, and I understand that's a 6-month trial, and the last one wasn't ideal given the fires and everybody coming and going and whatever. My concern is it appears that councillor discussions and councillor issues has disappeared into the ether. The alternative obviously would be we could raise a whole lot of questions during questions from members, either on notice or without notice. But I just wanted to know what the thinking was in relation to those issues, because there are quite a few issues out there at the moment. There are quite a few matters that we really need to know more about, and I'd like to see those reinstituted into the main agenda.
Yeah,
so just so that the general public can listen, because our briefings are behind closed doors and not available for general public. General public needs to know what our thinking is in relation to the debate and what's behind the debate.
Thank you. We did have a briefing the Wednesday after the concept forum, senior management, and I just happened to turn up. There was a discussion about the issues and discussions, and the CEO and I will discuss how we slide that back into the concept forum agenda. It was noted even after the meeting, there were a number of issues and discussions that we as councillors all wanted to have, so that will be considered back into the agenda. Thank you, Councillor Omade. Motions for consideration at the following meeting. New business of an urgent nature introduced.
I'd like to move that at the next meeting I'll move the following motion, that Council approach the state and federal governments with a view to funding volunteer firefighters and emergency services members. I think I'll keep it that simple because it needs a little bit of research.
Thank you. New business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of the meeting. We have none. We now have a confidential item to be discussed.
that we come back from behind closed doors.
Thank you. Do we just leave them out there for a little bit longer? Seconder, Councillor Ventress, all those in favour? Thank you. But they've got the food and the beverages. Right now, can I just, before we do anything, what can I say?
No, you need to read out.
You need to read out the recommended,
Once they,
the motion.
Well, it is. It's the address, is there? So just the property?
Yeah, probably substitute the property address.
So just as the property, report to the property?
Yes, well, the property address is in the title of the report anyway.
No, I don't think so. We went through that last time. Yeah, that's right. We'll add it in later. Okay, done.
yeah, it's fine. It should be across now, because I did it a minute or three ago. I just haven't got it.
So are we back live?
Yeah, we should be.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to invite them back in?
You need to read it.
Yeah, when they.
Don't they come back in first?
Yes. Every time.
Thank you. So the motion carried 7-0. That Council 1 note that the Director of Planning and Development will authorise the maintenance work as detailed in this report to the property to be implemented based on budget and other building maintenance priorities. 2, agree to the installation of outdoor lighting and security systems at the property to be undertaken and funded by the tenant in accordance with the tenancy agreement and subject to the conditions as specified in clause 33B of the tenancy agreement. 3, agree to the installation by the tenant of solar panels and batteries and stair rails and ramp at the property subject to the following conditions. A, work must be undertaken by an appropriately qualified trade person. B, the works are to be funded by the tenant and a copy of the invoice and any plans and specifications for the works must be provided to the Shire within 14 days of the alterations being completed. And C, the tenant must restore the premises to their original condition at the end of the tenancy agreement if the Shire requires the tenant to do so, and where the restoration work has been undertaken by a tradesperson must provide to the leaseor a copy of that tradesperson's invoice within 14 days of that work being completed. Oh, applications for leave of absence. We did that at the beginning. I did that at the beginning, thank you. I said it was carried 7-0, thank you. Applications for leave of absence, we did that at the beginning of the meeting, so the applications for Councillor Mylan and Councillor De Campo were granted. There being no further business to discuss, I wish to thank those in attendance and close the meeting at 7:13. Thank you. Can we have your green bits of paper to come?